gonna set my soul on fire. Got a whole lot of money that's ready to fire. Get those stakes.
And certainly Duke is Duke. They're on TV more than Leave It to Beaver reruns.
Kansas.
And it's taken away by Kansas. Up the floor, Harris. Right hand flip shot, good. An alley-oop feed and an underhanded scoop for DeJuan. Vegas, Harris crossing over, blows by Flag, kicks it out to Griffin, dials up a three. This time he hits. Rylan Griffin rips the cords from the left wing, and KU in front by one. Harris, KU will keep. Z crossing over, leans in on Cooper, picks up his dribble, out to Ryland, he shoots, he scores, and the foul! It's a blocking foul on Flag, and an and one coming for Ryland Griffin. Kansas trying to break this tie. Harris down to 5 to shoot, tight ropes the baseline, out to Mayo to beat the buzzer, got it off, and got it to go! What a bucket! It hung up on the rim twice and finally fell through. Kansas by 1. Proctor with the ball. Off to Knipple between the rings. We're down to 7 seconds. Knipple driving on KJ, spins, shoots, blocked by Beduga. KU's got the ball. They sprint up the floor football style. James to play it in. Looking. Can't find anybody. Gets it into the big fella. Knipple for the tie. It misses. And KU wins. The Jayhawks survive the loss of Dickinson and grind it out in the end. You can rock. Chalk it up. The Jayhawks win 75-72. The blue-blooded battle goes to Kansas.
Life's a game of momentums, and game is too. You know, when it's going good, you want to extend it, and when it's not going well, you need to curtail it and cut it off. And I that's one thing that we did a good job of. Because if I'm not mistaken, I think Duke took a 2-point lead or a 1-point lead a couple of times. And I think with 5 minutes left, they may have taken a 2-point lead. So we didn't let them get on that 9-0 run, which was pretty good because we had some guys step up and make some plays to kind of curtail it.
Chiefs.
I'm still burning a little bit from the last one. It was a win, so we're happy about that. But other than that, I think I'll just open it up and let you guys fire away.
What does have you burning about that one?
I never like to finish a game like that and put Patrick in the offense in that kind of situation. It would have been nice to win the 4th down or somewhere along the way, get a stop there where didn't. We've been through this. We've actually practiced this a couple of times on purpose. I've put the guys in situations in a walkthrough where I've said, okay, they just scored. If we stop the 2-point play, we win the game. Because, when people score on you, you tend to, and I think our guys were ready to play the play. It didn't work out that way. But, that's what's kind of got me upset.
I think week in and week out, we hold ourselves to standards individually and as a group-wise. I think we always want to be better. It's never really as good as you think. It's never really as bad as you think when you watch film, right? So it's always areas for improvement. I think as a team, we always want to be better, but a win is a win.
I think we just hold ourselves to an extremely high standard. And so unless we feel like we play our best, guys are itching to get back out there and go for more. And I feel like there was times we played some good football. And credit to the Panthers, they played great football and made a lot of big-time plays. And we were able to find a way to get a win in the end of the game. And I think it's not something that we were disappointed as much as we expect greatness from each other and from ourselves. And so unless we play like we expect we should play, we're going to strive to be better every time we step on that football field.
Good morning, Kansas City. This is New Day with SSJ on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Thank you very much for joining us. It's Wednesday, November 27th, 2024. Today on the show, we'll talk to former Chiefs offensive lineman Joe Valerio. We've also got college basketball insider from the Sporting News, Mike DeCourcy. We'll talk NFL with Adam Kaplan. So Mike DeCourcy at 7, Adam Kaplan at 7:30. We can talk to our friend Gary Barnett, who was in Kansas City at Arrowhead Stadium, part of the broadcast crew for the Colorado Buffaloes radio network. We had a chance to catch up with the coach on the field before the game on Saturday. We'll talk to Coach Barnett. We are working to try to get John Calipari and or Brad Underwood on the show to talk about the Arkansas-Illinois game that's going to take place on Thanksgiving at T-Mobile Center here in Kansas City. So that's a fluid situation, but we expect to have one or both. And then Matt Derrick from ChiefsDigest.com. And then we got Mike DePasquale, Mike's got this, Mike's got picks. Nate Bucati will be in with us at 8 o'clock or so. So there you have it. Kansas beat Duke last night in a game called Terry's Chocolate Vegas Showdown.
Had you ever heard of Terry's Chocolate?
It's none of your business, buddy.
I had not.
Terry's Chocolate Vegas Showdown.
But by the end of that, I wanted to try some.
You don't eat that stuff, do you?
Oh, I mean, I indulge every once in a while. I have a little chocolate. Not very often. But that's how good of advertising they were doing. I guess.
I had never heard of Terry's Chocolate.
Nor I. But the commercial I saw probably 20-odd times of them throwing that chocolate around the room, breaking it open. I don't know.
Does it look good to you?
It looks all right. I mean, it looks interesting. I mean, it's like, I guess it's wedges. Like you break it. You break the chocolate and break the wedges off. I don't know. It looked like an orange. Like you have a wedge of an orange.
Terry's Chocolate Milk.
I don't know, man.
Utterly terrific creamy milk chocolate.
I get it.
Terry's Chocolate Orange.
Yeah, that's what I think those were.
Terry's Chocolate Orange Ice Cream. Terry's Chocolate Orange Dark Ball. Truffles. They have an advent calendar.
I mean,
Terry's Chocolate Orange Exploding Candy Milk Easter Egg.
They paid a lot of money for their advertising.
Truffles.
I imagine.
What we're talking about in Kansas City, and I had no idea it existed.
Right. It's painted on the court, and every commercial break that.
They have new Terry's Chocolate Mint. Unbelievably tasty. Oh, they have mini cheesecakes. All right. No, I didn't. I had no idea. I had no idea who that was. You know, their story begins in 1767 with the opening of a shop in York, England. York locals could find lemon and orange candied peel among other confectionery. And then many years later, in 1823, Joseph Terry joined the company and invented new lines of confectionery, candied peel, marmalade, and you guessed it, chocolate.
Chocolate.
So the company would later be passed through the family, becoming Joseph Terry and Sons.
Terry.
Yeah. Back up, Terry.
Bag up, Terry. Put it in reverse, Terry. Put it in reverse. Oh, Lord. Lord, Jesus. Oh, Lord. Oh, Jesus. What you doing, Terry? Terry, what you doing?
Every once in a while, I'll stop and think and wonder how Terry's doing.
I mean, that's the first thing I thought of when I saw Terry's Chocolate.
Well, I think about that every 4th of July. I go, wonder where Terry is. How's he doing?
Hope Terry's backing up.
Yeah.
Oh, Lord.
Right. By the way, that Arkansas-Illinois game is at 3 p.m. at T-Mobile Center. It's the Thanksgiving Hoops Showcase here in Kansas City on CBS.
3 p.m.?
Yeah. Yes?
There's a lot of people that celebrate Thanksgiving on other days. Today, Friday. I know people that, they don't get together with their, families get together on different days other than just Thursday. I have a buddy who's hosting people at his house on Friday. They're doing Thanksgiving on Friday.
Is that right?
Yeah. So maybe if you don't have plans on Thursday, go watch some hoops.
It'd be a good game.
I bet. Yeah. Two great coaches.
Yep.
Two great programs.
What did you think of the win last night by Kansas over Duke?
I mean, it was an interesting game, that's for sure. A game of runs. I mean, Kansas opened up. I think they went on an 11-0 run to open the game, and then Duke came back. And I think the most interesting part of the game was Hunter Dickinson being ejected. Of course, I didn't agree with it, but probably a little bit biased. I mean, I for sure think it was a technical foul. I mean, he kicked the guy in the head. The intent, I mean, that's hard to tell. I think he was trying to do something to him. I don't necessarily think he was knew exactly where his head was. But I mean, that's Hunter Dickinson he plays on, they were talking about last night on the broadcast. Fran Fraschilla. He plays on the edge. He annoys people. If you're not a Kansas fan, then you probably don't like him. I mean,
you probably didn't like him when he was in Michigan.
I didn't. But that's you can't argue too much with it. Their decision, but I didn't agree with it. But I can see how they got there. I mean, I think it was a little extreme. I think ejections are safe for when you intentionally do something. I don't know how you can tell the intent of what he was doing.
Reputation? Yeah,
I think that probably had a little bit to do with it. I think Fran Fraschilla used Francis of Assisi as if it was Francis of Assisi, you probably give him the benefit of the doubt, but it's not. I thought it was an interesting comp. But, I mean, the Jayhawks still held on.
8 of 17 from 3.
Yeah, I mean, that's the difference. I think when you watch the team last year and you watch the team this year, they were terrible shooting outside the arc last year, and this team can definitely shoot it.
I like the idea that Hunter Dickinson is 24 years old and on the floor with Cooper Flagg, who's 17.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know when everybody's last COVID year is going to be, when that's finally not going to be a thing. But, I mean, Dwan Harrison, much younger.
How old is he?
I think he's probably 23.
Right. He ain't 24.
He's 23 years old.
That's right.
But still, I mean, it's pretty old for a college athlete. But I think we're seeing some interesting situations now. But, yeah, it is. I mean, Duke, I mean, they had Cooper Flagg's an impressive young player. 17 it's wild. But
we'll talk to Mike DeCourcy more about the game at 7 o'clock. But Kansas beats Duke 75-72.
It's fun getting to know some of these new players. Zeke Mayo and Riley Griffin.
This is like, and I know it's my job.
Yeah.
And I'll work at it, but I'm talking about college basketball in general. It's overwhelming.
It is.
It's overwhelming for me just to try to figure out who's on Missouri.
Right, yeah.
Right, the team that I would follow if I didn't host a radio show. And then you try to combine it with almost every team and the unbelievable turnover. That's a challenge for college basketball because it's the truth. Football's king. Yeah. Football's king, whether it's NFL or whether it's college football.
It's number one.
And you don't really. But that's always been the difference. That's always been the advantage that college basketball has had over football. There's no helmets, there's no pads and everything else. You get to see these guys. You see their faces. You get to. I mean, it feels like you know them more intimately, and you identify with them over the course of 2, 3, or 4 years. The length of time that they stay on your campus. Like,
Absolutely.
Let's go back to when we first started doing the show.
Yeah.
20 years ago, and
Nick
you'd have
and Kirk.
if there was a real good guy, you might be going a year or two, but
3,
most likely 3 years, 4 years.
Yeah.
You'd identify with them. They'd become popular. You'd know who the face of your team was.
I mean, for the longest time, the KU didn't have a guy leave early till really Paul Pierce.
Unless it's quarterback, or if you have a big time wide receiver or skill position player. I mean, there a bunch of the guys that play on the college football team, you wouldn't know them if you cross the street with them.
Right.
And college basketball has lost some of that advantage, in my opinion, because you don't know who the hell's on every team or any team. Like in the old, not Big 8, but even in the old Big 12.
Sure.
Like you knew all the players on
Whole
K-State's
roster.
team. You know all the players on Mizzou's team. You knew who you liked and didn't like. It takes a long time to figure out. And look, you rely on the rankings, but we know that the rankings that start the season are many times wrong.
Sure.
Very wrong.
Sure.
But we rely on that to figure out who's good and who's not. Like we know Kansas is really good, and we know Duke is really good. We know UConn's good, even though they lost back-to-back games. That was weird. They lost to Colorado last night, 73-72.
That was a wild game too.
But some of it is it takes a while, unless you're just an absolute hardcore fanatic fan, and there's plenty of those for Kansas fans. There's plenty of those for Kansas basketball.
Sure.
But it's hard to wrap your head around the rosters and who's where and everything else,
Oh, I consider myself a pretty hardcore KU fan, and it's getting to know these guys has been it's fun. I'm trying, games like last night help. AJ Storr had a great game. Seen Zeke Mayo out there, Rylan Griffin. I mean, these are all new faces.
Yeah.
I've watched a little bit of Alabama last year. Didn't watch very much. Summit League ball, so I didn't know a whole lot about Zeke Mayo. But
stud.
Yeah, I mean, these they're fun to watch and fun to get to know, but like this whole thing, you don't know what you have, and that's I'm a fan of the team, so it is a challenge for college basketball, but it's a crazy world we live in. It's free agency, man, every year.
So Kansas beats Duke 75-72. UConn loses again. They lose to Colorado 73-72. Auburn beat North Carolina by 13, 85-72. Iowa State beat Dayton. Alabama had to go to overtime, and they beat Houston in a really good matchup between top 10 teams. A&M, they're ranked 20th, and they lost by 10 to Oregon. Creighton got worked by San Diego State 71-53. That's disappointing. But there you go. A whole bunch of good college basketball last night. Still trying to wrap my head around everything.
Kansas takes on Creighton at Creighton December 4th. I think a week from today.
Interesting game this afternoon down in Hawaii, Colorado and Iowa State. Also, if you want to learn more about West Virginia, of course, in the Big 12, in the Bahamas, they're taking on number 3 Gonzaga today at 1:30. So,
dig into some college hoops. It's here.
There's a good game, 4 o'clock ESPN, Memphis and Auburn. Texas A&M plays Creighton at 5:30. A lot of good basketball. And so I'm all wrapped up in football, buddy.
Yeah, I get it.
That's just the way it is. I apologize to you and yours.
Nope. No apologies.
So, we got interesting situation going on with the Chiefs and the kicking situation. Good God. How many different types of weird injuries are we going to have to watch this year with the Chiefs? It's been unbelievable. So now yesterday, new kicker Spencer Schrader doesn't practice because of a hamstring injury. And so the injury is concerning enough to where the Chiefs had to bring back kicker Matthew Wright. Remember him? Matthew Wright was signed to the practice squad. And so in case Schrader, and look, if you have him on your fantasy team, you were thrilled, like, oh, look, I just fell into the Chiefs kickers. No one picked him up. Now you're like, oh, this sucks. He was rolling, and now he hurt his hamstring. But whatever. So maybe Matthew Wright's kicking for the Chiefs on Friday. Both Charles Omenihu and Isaiah Pacheco were full participants, and that's the first time they've been marked as full participants in practice since they've come back from their injuries. And so that means Omenihu and Pacheco are both headed in the right direction to play on Friday. And I am excited about Pacheco coming back. Don't get that twisted. But man, would it be huge if Omenihu could make an impact. And not even this Friday. If you could just get him right by the time, you get to the final couple of weeks. I mean, get him right by Christmas. Get him right by the final game against Denver. Get him right. I mean, you'd love for him to be able to make enough of an impact to help the Chiefs get this number 1 seed. But I'm going to be cautiously optimistic because he's coming back from a bad knee injury. And sometimes it takes a while. It takes longer than you would think sometimes for some players to be able to get back to even close to what they were. Eventually he will, but how long is it? And it's foolish, it took Turk Wharton this long, and so it's going to take, you can't, no. Maybe it doesn't take as long as Turk Wharton. Maybe it takes longer. Who knows? There's too many variables here, and no injury is the same, and no person is the same. You'll even, everyone's healing powers are different. Everyone's body's different. Me and you could have the same type of surgery, and we could have different recovery times. One, because I'm incredibly tough,
right,
compared to you, and so that
I'm weak. You're strong.
You're blow
great.
away in the
suck.
wind. No, you know what? I suck, and you're great. But I'm strong like bull.
And also, there's a big mental aspect to it too.
Sure. Some guys have a tougher time getting over the mental hurdle. Dude, you make such a good point because you remember when I talked to Najee Johnson, and we talked about that, and he said, physical thing's fine.
Yeah.
I'm good. He goes, but I'm still having trouble getting over the mental aspect of this. He was very open because I'm still having trouble trusting the knee and trusting everything.
And I think that's,
and for some guys it just takes longer.
Yeah, that's the bigger part for me. I mean, just from my experience, like that's speaking from experience. It is a mental. The first time I ever had a knee surgery, coming back from it was the second and third time was much easier.
Oh, that's the same thing with my back. It's like knowing, okay, all right, it's fixed, all right, but,
Right, the unknown.
Do I do this? Can I do this? I still go through that, and it's been a while.
Sure. No, so I think that every guy's different in how they adjust and
right.
And how they, the amount of time it takes them to get that full faith back into what you're doing and how you do it. And with that use of that knee, how long it's going to take for him to give it 100%.
But I'm not making any kind of declaration. He can't help right away. He can't help right away.
He could.
We don't know. But the good thing is full participant in practice, just like Pacheco. And so we're going to get the process started.
Yes.
We're going to get him out there and get him some snaps on Friday against the Raiders and get that road to recovery.
Start the clock. Absolutely.
Let's find out. And the only way you can find out, practice is great and everything else, rehab, is getting in the game.
That's right.
Game snaps, baby. And that's good news. I don't know, maybe I'm kicking. Maybe you're kicking for the Chiefs on Friday. I don't know.
I'm available.
Okay? You've got a leg on you. But we do know that Omenihu and Pacheco are heading in the right direction to get their first action since being injured this Friday against the Raiders. We'll take a break and talk to Joe Valerio after this on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Welcome back to New Day with SSJ. Let's talk football with former Chiefs offensive lineman Joe Valerio. Joe, good morning. How are you?
Steven, good morning. Happy pre-Thanksgiving. Everybody's getting their turkeys ready, seasoning them up. Whether hey, all of you that do them in those fryers out in the driveway, be careful. I'm in the insurance industry. It's one of the biggest risks we face in our business is Turkey Day.
Make sure they're thawed.
Frying those turkeys.
Make sure they're thawed, and make sure the oil's not too full.
I go. You know what? I lean on the experts. Last night we picked up our whole smoked turkey from Joe's Kansas City Barbecue, and so yes, I'm very excited. Very excited about tearing into that thing. That sounds delicious right now. Okay, Joe, you can't say turkey and you can't say any of the desserts. What'll be your favorite thing on the table for Thanksgiving?
Oh, man. I'd have to say I am a big fan of sweet potato casserole.
Delicious.
Yeah, just with sometimes the way different people make it, it's a little bit sweet, a little bit savory. Sometimes you got like the crushed peanuts or crushed pecans or walnuts on top, brown sugar mixing in there. Yeah, I gotta say that's probably one of my favorite dishes. Besides, of course, the turkey and the pumpkin pie.
Right, that's exactly right. All right, let's get into this. Lot going on right now with the Chiefs. First of all, since we last spoke, they did bring in another offensive lineman, DJ Humphries, who has been working his way back from a torn ACL, but he's been cleared to participate or for football activity. I'm just curious what you think of the player, and realistically, how long you think it might take before they can go to him, if that's indeed what they decide to do.
Yeah, I mean, look, number one, they need some depth, right? I mean, I think just in general, the team up front needs a little bit of veteran depth. And whether he brings a certain level of leadership, and he was a Pro Bowler, he's got a bunch of years under his belt, he can play the game of football. Like it's proven, right? So he did it through college. He did it through the NFL. Injury kind of sidelined him a little bit, but he can play. So I'm just going to leave it at that. And I think he's an 8-year veteran, and he's going to provide a level of leadership and depth I think that they need up front, right? Not that they don't have it with their starters and have it with the guys that are there, but I think it just gives everybody some comfort that we don't have another Patriot Super Bowl on our hands where you don't have somebody who has been in that situation before, in a high-pressure Pro Bowl type player that can get in there and play. So I think number one, just for that, it's a good move, right? Just for that. I think could he get out there and play? Why not give him a shot? I mean, I don't think it's going to be. Look, here I am, right? It's going to sound like a double-edged sword. Speaking out of two sides of my mouth, right? Like, offensive line is one of the most complicated places to play. A lot of it has to do with the technique and the things that when players are working together. A lot of the assignments, I mean, he's going to be able to pick that up pretty quickly, right? He's a veteran who's been around a long time. I don't think it would be hard to learn an offense as complicated as the Chiefs in a couple of weeks if they wanted to throw him out there by playoff time and have him actually start a game. He's going to need more time than that. But maybe they can get him in for, a series here and there. If they get into passing situations, the pass protections tend to be a little bit more self-explanatory when the centers make the call. So I think he could probably do that. I think there's a couple of scenarios they could throw him in if they wanted to see if his knee's holding up and if he still has, what it takes to have gotten him, a Pro Bowl bid and to have been a starter for so long, in the NFL.
All right. In this last game against Carolina, there was, people that have been angry that it took a last-second field goal to beat Carolina. The defense, we played a clip from Spags earlier in the show that, he was disappointed that he said the way the game ended, not that they won, but that they put the offense in that situation where they had to win the game when the defense had a chance to win the game. What were your takeaways from the Chiefs' victory over Carolina over the weekend?
Well, look, I don't want to be a homer and just say, look, a win's a win, but you do have to open with that, right? It's a tough league right now. I mean, nobody's no one has had the kind of run that the Chiefs had over the last several years as far as being able to win the vast majority of their games. And it takes a lot to do that. The Carolina Panthers are a professional football team made up of veterans and number one picks and people who've been around the game. And, it's not like they went and played, a mid-level college team, or even to go play the number one team in the country in College Oregon, right? They're playing an NFL team, lots of really good players who are playing with a lot of pride. So, yeah, people are going to come out gunning for the Chiefs. So, look, I don't want to, but I also don't want to sell short the fact that there's some things defensively, Coach Spags, can be mad at himself all he wants. And what is it, Stephen? It's only the second game, I think, that they've let up 30 points. So, you're talking about a team that doesn't let up a lot of points. Now, what probably has fans frustrated is the whole bend, don't break type thing that they're seeing. It's sort of and I can't speak for Coach Spags, whether it's his strategy and he's just keeping that under the hood and close to the vest. But, it just seems like they play that game between the 20s, and then all of a sudden they just know how to tighten it down around the 20, 30-yard line coming in when teams are coming in to score. And, teams end up walking away with lots of field goals. Coach Spags really knows how to play that short field. I mean, defensively, it's really tough. When you get inside the 20, 30-yard line, that field gets really, really small. And you're packing 11 players on defense into that area, and it's really hard to get open. It's really hard to run the ball because everybody's up, right? You naturally have players that are up now in the box as opposed to when you're on your own 20-yard line and you've got defensive safeties covering the deep half of the field. So, it just gets really tight. So Coach Spags is a master down there, and I think that's what fans are seeing. They're seeing a team that really does play what I would call, whether it's his strategy or not, he and Coach Reed's strategy or not, I don't know. But I think they're definitely in that camp of bend, don't break, give the team, give it to them underneath, and then all of a sudden you tighten it down when you really need to get tightened down, knowing that your offense is probably going to put up more touchdowns than they are field goals. And I mean, I don't want to flip the script because I hope I answered your question, Stephen, but going back to Patrick throwing 3 TDs, like I'm loving that he's throwing touchdowns right now because that to me is really important heading into the playoffs because he's going to need, with Isaiah coming back, mixing Kareem Hunt in there, Samaje Perine mixing in there, like you got to have the ability to throw the ball into the end zone too when you get to the playoffs. So I was really happy that in the past couple games he's had that 3-touchdown passing game, which means they're doing the right things down in the red zone to get players open in the end zone and strike fast and not have to grind it in, which is I think for me that's really that's a very encouraging sign.
You mentioned Isaiah Pacheco coming back. There's a chance we see 2 returns on Friday against the Raiders. Charles Omenihu practiced, full participant, and so did Pacheco, which means they're on pace to come back on Friday. Your thoughts on Pacheco and what he does for the offense, but also Charles Omenihu, and if he's right, and if he's anything close to what he was last year, that will be a huge boost for the defense and the pass rush.
Oh, yeah. We've talked about it a lot, right, in the past, and Jeff Fedota and I talked about it all the time on our pod. Like, there is nothing harder than rushing the passer, right? Again, here I am, Mr. Offensive Lineman, right, saying how there's another position that's harder to play. But when it comes to rushing the passer, it is really tiring. And any defensive lineman will tell you that, 2, 3, 5 snaps in a row of getting out there and getting after a pass rusher, especially the way that quarterbacks play today. It's not, the old days and watching Derek Thomas pin his ears back, beat that left tackle around the edge. It's a lot different now. You can't do that anymore. You don't have these statuesque quarterbacks just sitting back there, the John Elways, Dan Marinos, Joe Montana's, like sitting back there, Peyton Manning, pumping the ball, staying in one spot. Like, you have to have a disciplined pass rush that is exhausting because you got to fight 2 or 3 linemen, right, if you're getting double teamed. Sometimes triple teamed if you're getting help from a tight end or a running back. And you got to fight those guys while you're trying to progress forward, right, and not open up a running lane for a quarterback like a Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, or Patrick Mahomes. So, it's exhausting. So That's a long answer to a short question, Stephen. Yeah, having Omenihu back, having Charles back in the mix is going to be a welcome relief for those guys to keep that rotation going, because those are your most effective pass rushing teams that have fresh bodies, good fresh bodies. Don't just want to throw bodies out there. Good pass rushing fresh bodies, smart guys out there to do that, consistently throughout the game when you're getting 60, 70 snaps. So I love that he's back and can give those guys a spell. It's going to only add to Coach Spag's arsenal of what he can do between the 20s and not have to wait till the red zone to tighten things up.
How do you think they'll utilize Pacheco along with Kareem Hunt?
I think they're gonna have to start working him back in, right? I think he's gonna have to get snaps. You gotta get him ready for the playoffs. I don't know if he's a guy that needs a lot of reps. I think he's a guy that's a very natural runner, as you've seen him progress throughout his short career so far. I'm not sure he's going to need like a lot of reps to get going, but I think they should start working him in when he's 100%. But they gotta wait till he's 100%. I mean, I'm a big believer in, if you're going against a team, look, I don't get something happen like with the Panthers where you got to win on last field goal, but like when you're going against teams that you have at least an advantage of, let's be honest, regardless of whether or not, you're not throwing your helmet out there thinking you're going to win, but you do have to go into games strategically thinking, all right, do we wait to play him, in a spot where we maybe need him, or if we are rolling along and we get things going in the first and second quarter and we get up on the Raiders by 10, 14 points, like can we hold off on playing him, giving him that one more week to get back? But at the same time, you don't want, kind of like the camp scenario to happen where you come into September like totally rusty and you don't know what you're doing. So it's a fine balance for coaches to decide whether or not they're going to risk getting somebody in where, kind of in a way, listen, they're 10-1, whether anybody loves what they're doing or not, they're 10-1. And do you fix something that's not broken, right? And do you wait until you absolutely possibly need them and to make sure that that injury is 100% healed? I fall more into that camp because I think the body, the NFL body, man, it's especially running backs. You only got so many snaps in you. And I think they need to save him till they know he's absolutely needed and he's absolutely ready.
All right, Gardner Minshew, broken collarbone. He's out for the rest of the season. And the Raiders are trying to work Aiden O'Connell back from his thumb injury. He was listed as a full participant. He's expected to start. The Raiders lost by 7 to the Chiefs the first time around. And we all know what happened last time the Raiders played at Arrowhead Stadium. That was that Christmas game that pissed everyone off here. But it lit a fire under the Chiefs, and the rest was history. They won the Super Bowl. What are you expecting from this Friday afternoon game between Chiefs and Raiders?
First of all, how bizarre is that, right? Friday afternoon game. I mean,
right.
Of course, it's Black Friday, and the Raiders are, we've always called them silver and black. So it's very apropos that they're playing this game on Black Friday, which, is super interesting for fans to watch, which just gives them something to do, right? I mean, I think it'll be an interesting. It'll be interesting to see how the ratings work out and who watches this game. But I think it's Raider week, right? There was one game that Coach Schottenheimer let us feel the rivalry. Coach was you don't throw your helmet out there and win guy. Your most important game is your next game. Listen, I'm still 30 plus years later, I'm still repeating the Coach Schottenheimer mantras. But Raider week was the one week where he let it all hang out, and he had the signs posted up. He used the term all the time, Raider week. It was a great rivalry. And, one of my favorite stories, Stephen, I'm sorry to interject this, but it's such an interesting
Please
thing.
do.
I'll never forget when Coach Shell, Art Shell, the Raider of all Raiders, right? Hall of Fame, first ballot Raider, one of the best tackles in not just Raider history, but NFL history. Coach of the Raiders, spent his whole life, football life, with the Raiders. And he shows up in minicamp, and there he is in the yellow and red. And I'm looking, I was like, my jaw dropped. Like, I just can't believe I'm staring at Art Shell, and he's in a Chiefs outfit. And he looked at all of us, and after Coach Schottenheimer introduced him, he said, I want to welcome Coach Shell. So we coached in the O-line this year. Say hello to everybody, blah, blah, blah. And Art just looks at us all. Coach Shell looks, he says, listen, if you can't beat them, join them. And the whole place just went, it was so great. I mean, everybody was hooting and hollering, and it was such a great entry for Coach Shell into the Chiefs family. And it sums up for me everything that is the Raiders-Chief rivalry. It is really, really something else. But I think the Chiefs are going to get after this team. They are hurting, Steven. They are hurting. I mean, there are guys all over their roster on IR, Wilkins, Coons, Masterson, Epps, right? Their whole, defensive backfield is either hurt or on IR. Jacorian Bennett's questionable, Nate Hobbs is questionable, and, where there's smoke, there's fire, right? If somebody has to be listed questionable, they're probably hurt a little bit. And they're just, it could go really bad for the Raiders. But you just don't want another Panthers thing to happen, right? But I think it is a chance for the Chiefs to get on one more time on a national stage, because this will be a national stage, right? With the Black Friday game and everything kind of, off on its own a little bit. I think it gives them a chance to really show the football world who they are. But do the Chiefs want to show too much, right? And I wonder sometimes if that's what Coach Reed and Coach Spags and Coach Nagy are doing. Are they holding off on some of these things that they want to get ready for the playoffs and for those games that are meaningful for home field advantage? It's just interesting to see, how this game will play out. I still think the Chiefs are going to beat them up pretty good. And again, not being a homer, being a very objective football fan, I think the Raiders are hurting right now. They don't have a whole lot going on at quarterback with all the rotation, and they're hurting everywhere. I have a feeling this game's going to be, a 34 to maybe 14 type game. I think they'll cover that big.
Man, I hope so, man. That would be really nice. It'd be really nice to have a leisurely fourth quarter coming up this Friday at Arrowhead. Hey, before we let you go, Joe, of course, happy Thanksgiving to you and your family, but tell people again where they can listen to that podcast. Gather all the kids around the speaker and listen to the podcast on Thanksgiving.
Oh, that's awesome, Stephen. Thank you. And happy Thanksgiving to you and all the listeners out there in Kansas City. I can't wait to get back. I'll be back for the alumni game against the Chargers, so excited to be back in town to celebrate, Tom Bahali going into the Chiefs Ring of Fame, Ring of Honor. But Jeff Fedot and I do Believe in Chiefs, BLEAV in Chiefs, on any podcast network. Just Google, search for Believe in Chiefs. And, you can follow along at Joe Valerio 73 on X and Twitter.
All right, Joe, get after that turkey. We'll talk next week.
You got it, buddy. You got it. Thanks, Stephen. Have a great one, bud.
Yeah, and we just got done talking turkey with Joe Valerio. We'll take a break. Back after this on WHB. Stephen St. John here for my friends at Kansas City Credit Union. And I've told you about becoming a member at Kansas City Credit Union. If you work, worship, or reside in Jackson, Cass, or Clay County, Missouri, you are eligible for membership. And if you're a member, you can take advantage of the 12-12-12 holiday loan at Kansas City Credit Union. The 12-12-12 holiday loan is a better choice than credit cards this holiday season. It's a fixed rate with a fixed term and fixed loan amount. The loan is $1,200, the rate is 12%, and the payback period is 12 months. That's why it's 12-12-12, Jake. You can use it for seasonal expenses like holiday gifts, travel, paying off credit cards. It caps your holiday spending to the loan amount and sets a budget and helps avoid impulse buying. And then you can skip those payday lenders because they have extremely high APR. For more information about becoming a member or information about the 12-12-12 holiday loan, visit kansascitycreditunion.com/810sports. kansascitycreditunion.com/810sports, and tell them SSJ sent you. Hey there, Kansas City. Stephen St. John here for Andy's Frozen Custard. All right? Would you like a Santa brownie sundae? Santa's here. He's at Andy's. And look, only a couple more days with the pumpkin pie concrete. That's going to be over this weekend. And they jam a whole slice of pumpkin pie in that concrete. 2 slices if you get a large. So you better take advantage of it. It's so good. All right? But only a couple of more days. But they've got so many delicious treats at Andy's Frozen Custard, like the Travis Kelce 87 and running concrete. And you know what's in it. The world's finest vanilla frozen custard, spiked with Oreo cookie dough and cream caramel. And the best part is a portion of the proceeds for every 87 and running concrete goes to Travis Kelce's 87 and running foundation. All right, and you don't have to pick. Get both. Get the pumpkin pie while it's still available. Get the 87 and running. Get a Santa brownie sundae, and then sit there with your family and just enjoy delicious Andy's Frozen Custard. All right, Andy's Frozen Custard. Grab a treat, support a great cause, and top your day with a smile at Andy's.